Hello and welcome back to Human Physiology. Last time we discussed the levels of organization in the human body, starting at the atomic level, leading up to molecules, cells, tissues, and so on and so forth. So next we are going to discuss, among other things, the compartmentalization of the body. So it should be a good discussion, so let's go ahead and get into it here. So before we really get into the whole compartmentalization aspect, we're going to run through 6 different functions of the human body. So last time, the very last thing that we discussed was all the different organ systems, and we discussed how none of the organ systems are really existing or functioning within a vacuum. They're all working together to, in some way, maintain function of the human body. And when we discuss this, we are saying that these organ systems are going to work together in such a way that the human body basically maintains 6 general functions. So let's take a look at what those 6 functions are. The human body is very organized, and what we mean by that is the body is split up into compartments, and that's going to be kind of the major focus of this particular video. The human body maintains a metabolism, which is basically just the sum total of all the chemical reactions on all of your cells. That will be a subject of another video. The human body is responsive to different environmental cues. The body is capable of movement. The human body develops over time. And the human body is capable of reproduction. So all of these subjects will be discussed in due time, but for this particular video, we are going to focus in on number 1 here. So the human body is organized into compartments. So this can mean several different things. So let's go ahead and dive into what we mean depending on kind of what we're talking about here. So the idea of compartmentalization is we want to allow all those different organ systems to work together, but at the same time, we want to prevent any incompatibilities from occurring. So what do we mean by that? Well, for example, the contents of your stomach is going to have a very low and very acidic pH. So there's a lot of stomach acid in there. Right? So we don't want that stomach acid mixing with, say, the blood. The blood is supposed to have a pH of about 7.4. The stomach acid in your stomach is about 2.0. So we want to compartmentalize the contents of the stomach away from the contents of, say, the blood vessels or the contents of the cerebrospinal canal. So we want to compartmentalize to allow things to work together, but such that things don't just kind of willy-nilly mix together, because as we're going to find out throughout the semester, things would really not work if we allowed such a thing to occur. So a couple of different examples here that I've kind of already briefly mentioned. We keep the blood compartmentalized within the walls of blood vessels. So obviously the whole purpose of blood is to nourish the body and providing things like oxygen and nutrients. So we want to kind of compartmentalize that into kind of thin, narrow vessels to allow us to transport it throughout the body. Wouldn't really work very well if blood just kind of spread all throughout the body willy-nilly, right? So another example of compartmentalization, the skin and intestinal tract act as barriers to prevent harmful microorganisms from reaching the general circulation. We'll have a little bit more to say about that in chapter 4 when we start talking about epithelial tissue. And then kind of the major thing that I want to kind of hone in on here is the compartmentalization of body fluids. So all the cells within your body have what is called a plasma membrane, something that hopefully you remember from your general biology class, but if not, it'll definitely be something that we talk about in chapter 3. So all the cells in your body, all roughly 30 trillion of them, they each have a plasma membrane that is going to divide your different bodily fluids and separate and compartmentalize them. So of all your bodily fluids, they're either going to be an intracellular fluid, that being a fluid that is contained within the plasma membrane, fluid that is inside of cells, or an extracellular fluid, being fluid that is contained outside of cells. So the intracellular fluid, or ICF, is separated from the ECF by the plasma membrane. And then one last thing to mention for compartmentalization, we do use connective tissue, and again, for connective tissue, this will be another discussion to have in Chapter 4. We can use connective tissue to kind of ensheath and protect sensitive structures like muscles and nerves and prevent them from kind of banging up and abrasing with things like the skeleton. So let's dive a little bit more into that body fluid compartmentalization. So we've already said that we have an intracellular fluid and we have an extracellular fluid. So as far as the intracellular fluid goes, being the fluid inside of cells, there's only really one variety of this. It is the cytoplasm of each cell. So in this particular picture, everything that you see in gray here, so in this particular picture, we're looking at 4 different cells. Obviously, there's a whole lot more than that in the human body. We're looking at 4 different cells, and each of them has its own cytoplasm. And collectively, the total volume of those 4 cytoplasms is going to be intracellular fluid. So the extracellular fluid, meaning any fluid that is not inside of cells, the extracellular fluid is going to come in 2 different major varieties. The first of which you can see in red here. This is your blood plasma. So this is the actual fluid part of your blood. Basically, the blood plasma is everything about your blood with all the cells taken out. So no red blood cells, no white blood cells, no platelets. So your blood plasma is one type of extracellular fluid. So this is extracellular fluid that is contained within blood vessels and circulates throughout the body. The other type of extracellular fluid, which is a little hard to appreciate at first glance, is called interstitial fluid. So interstitial fluid is kind of, in this picture, what everything in white is. So it's kind of the empty space in between the cells and the blood vessels. So the best way to kind of think about this is the cells are kind of suspended in what you might call a bath. So there is this fluid that is in between individual cells in a tissue, but also that fluid is not a part of the blood plasma. So in those cases, we call that fluid interstitial fluid. So what you're looking at in this particular picture, if we kind of treat it as a story, you're seeing these kind of, and we'll get into the fine details of these much later in the semester, so don't worry about it too much right now. But what you're seeing in this particular picture is a signaling mechanism. So this cell right here, which is what we're calling the secreting cell, it has made some type of signaling molecule, this kind of blue ball right here. This signaling molecule starts out in the cytoplasm or intracellular fluid of this cell. It leaves the cell and goes into the interstitial fluid and then into the blood plasma. The circulation of the blood carries this signal all throughout the body until eventually this signaling molecule leaves the blood plasma, goes back into the interstitial fluid, and then binds to a receptor on a target cell somewhere completely different than where the signaling molecule started. So these are the types of things that we will talk about in Unit 2 of this semester when we start talking about the nervous system and the endocrine system and all the different ways that cells can communicate with each other over long and short distances. But the thing for you to appreciate for right now is that what we're seeing here is that some type of molecule in the process of this mechanism has gone from one compartment to another, to another, to another, and to another. And in order for that to be true, we will need to eventually understand that the cell membrane that separates the intracellular and extracellular fluids from one another, the cell membrane, it's not necessarily an impenetrable barrier. There are going to be ways and mechanisms that certain things can cross from one compartment to another. So these things are not it's not necessarily like locking up valuables in Fort Knox. So we're going to have ways of going from one compartment to another. So if you look at this graph is showing you kind of the breakdown of all the water in your body broken down by the three compartments that we talked about. So it might surprise you to learn that most of the water in your body is actually inside of cells. So about 2/3 of all the water in your body is actually intracellular fluid. It seems weird because you don't really think of cells as containing a whole bunch of water. If you're thinking about your water makeup, main thing you're probably thinking of is your blood, right? Well, your blood is actually a very, very, very small percentage of all the water in your body. So there's actually more interstitial fluid in your body than there actually is blood plasma. But both of them kind of pale in comparison to the vast amount of water that is contained within individual cells. And then if we look at non-water makeup of body fluids, so we're looking at things like sodium, potassium, chloride, bicarbonate, and then just various proteins, you can see some very, very, very prominent differences between our two extracellular fluids being the middle and the right here, and then the intracellular fluid here on the far left. Now, we could spend some time kind of breaking down the differences for all 5 of the things that are listed here, but I want to draw your attention to 2 in particular because these are going to be the 2 we want to make sure we remember moving forward. So one thing you'll notice about sodium and potassium for the intracellular fluid here on the left, the intracellular fluid does not have very much sodium, but it has a whopping amount of potassium. Well, compare that to the 2 extracellular fluids, and you'll notice that it's pretty much the opposite for them. Extracellular fluid has very little potassium, but a ton of sodium. So why that particular fact is so important to remember, we're just going to have to kind of wait on that. We're not quite ready to discuss that just yet, but it is definitely something that you're going to want to file away in your memory banks moving forward. Intracellular fluid has a lot of potassium. Extracellular fluid has a lot of sodium. That is going to be exquisitely important for how certain things function moving forward. All right, so that is going to wrap up this particular video. So when we come back next time, we will start talking about the body and metabolism. So I'll go ahead and sign off for now, and I will see you next time.